We guys scoot in a little bit to get like, like you like each other.
Right. No, I can't. Have you seen his socks? Boom! Worst socks. Worst socks.
What's going on, guys? Today we've got another comparison review. We've got the Speed MP 2024 versus the Speed MP 2026. Jason, what were your thoughts on these rackets?
All right, well, first off, they are very, very similar. If you're just looking at the specs alone, almost like identical. So once I took it on court, that's kind of what I felt. They're very, very similar. The thing that really sticks out to me with both rackets is the higher swing weight. I typically like something around the low 320s. These are kind of high 320s, even low 330s. I think luckily you picked out some that are more in range with what we like. But yeah, I thought the swing was a little bit high for me, but it equated to really good plow through, really good on blocking back shots. I really liked it on my backhand slice. Felt like I could really knife it really well with both rackets. And really it just comes down to feel. I think the 2026 version for me felt a little bit softer, but not muted, which was really nice. I still felt really connected to my shots. And so for me, and because I was looking at my Zenith data and I was getting just a little bit more spin, and spin is a really big part of my game, my winner here is the 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And like you said, we looked for something that was like in the mid 320s as far as swing weight goes. So both of these were actually around 325 strung swing weight wise. And I agree that the biggest difference is going to be the feel on how that's sourced. The big story here for the 2026 is the introduction of Head's high bore tech. So this is the first racket line to get that new high bore, and it does have a different feel, maybe a little bit more connected to the ball than the 2024. And I think you and I differed a little bit from shot to shot in terms of which one we preferred over the other. For me personally, I actually had a little bit of a better time with the 24 on my ground strokes. Even though it wasn't quite as connected to the ball, I felt like I could just swing out a little bit more, especially on my two-handed backhand, and that's my bread and butter shot. So if I have that working, I'm gonna go with that. But I did like the 26 for my one-handed backhand, just a little bit more. On ground strokes, I'm gonna lean ever so slightly towards the 2024 edition versus I think you drifted more towards the 2026.
Yep, that's my winner for sure on ground strokes. And then as far as volleys go, thoughts?
I'm gonna have a preference for the 2026 edition on volleys. I think it's just a little bit more connected to the ball for me personally. Felt like I could really stick my shots deep in the court and loved it on overheads. Just really, really fun to hammer those shots down with.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we are the same here. I would pick the 2026 simply because of the feel. Again, both rackets felt just really solid up at net, really good at absorbing pace. And I don't like to go up to net as often as you do, really only to shake hands, as some would say. And so I don't really always hit the ball cleanly in the center of the sweet spot. And so I really appreciate a racket when it is pretty torsionally stable. And I felt both rackets were torsionally stable. For me though, it's just the feel is a little bit better, I think, with the 26. I felt more connected and I was having more success hitting like drop shots and drop volleys with this one.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Touch shots on the 26 just feel sublime. Yep. Maybe a slight preference for me for absorbing pace on the 24 edition, but overall I'd rather have the ability to sort of hit the shot that I'm looking to.
Yeah.
And then on serves, again, this is gonna be an area where I actually prefer the 26. That was probably my favorite part of the playtest when we did it last year with the Speed Legend Edition. And yeah, I said then that this thing is just an absolute hammer on serves. Both rackets really easily powerful, good spin, good shape on the ball. You're not gonna really have a ton of issues, I would say, on serve with either frame. But again, the feel aspect for me on the 26 just was a little bit crisper, a little bit nicer. And for me, that translated to better serving.
I know we both kind of like to crack it every now and then. What do you think about like when hitting a flat first versus kind of a spinny second?
Yeah, I feel like in terms of like getting the shot that you're looking to do, the 26 is just maybe a little bit more conducive for that. And me personally, I like something that has a little bit more of like a connected and crisper feel on serve in particular. The 24 for me feels a little bit more muted, and that doesn't always translate to the best serve, especially on flat firsts. That said, on like a more spinny second serve or like a slice up the tee or something like that or out wide, I thought the muted feel of the 24 actually did a pretty good job.
Yeah, for me, it's really splitting hairs here. I would probably pick the 26 just slightly. Again, just because of the feel, I felt like both rackets, yeah, I am able to utilize that swing weight and just hit a pretty big ball on my serve, my first and my second. But However, because of that little slightly higher swing weight, my misses, I felt like my misses were a little bit long. I just couldn't accelerate as fast as I would like to get the spin and to get my balls to dip into the court. But yeah, very, very, very minor differences. Slight edge again for me would be the 26.
Yeah, and I can't really fault you for that, especially on serve where it's such an important shot that you really want to be able to trust no matter what.
Yeah.
What about on return? Did you have a preference for either racket, or was it still the 26 again?
Yeah, my return is very similar to my ground strokes. I felt like both rackets were great at blocking back shots, especially big first serves. Like when you crack one and all I can do is just block it back or chip it back, I thought both did really, really good at just absorbing that pace and getting me good depth on my return where I can then recover and kind of be ready for that second shot. According to my Zenith data though, I am just getting a bit more net clearance, a bit more depth, and a bit more spin on my ground strokes and returns. So I do like the 26 because it just gives me a little bit more. But really, without the Zenith data, I really couldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely splitting hairs here. And similar to my ground stroke feelings on this racket, I prefer the 24 ever so slightly just because it allowed me to swing out a little bit more. That said, I do typically return one-handed off the backhand wing, and that's where I had a preference for the 26. But all other things considered, the 24 for me personally won out on returns.
Okay, and then lastly, feel. I think this is where really there's the noticeable difference between the two. So for me, like I've said before, all review, I prefer the 26 slightly because of that new high bore and that feel. It's plush feeling. I still feel really connected to my shots. I felt like I was able to execute drop shots really well with it. And it has a nice kind of ball pocketing feel to it, especially combined with the Lynx Tour, one of my favorite strings. That combo of the Lynx Tour and the high bore, really, really nice for me.
I agree with you. I think the high bore feels great. It's a really connected sensation to the ball. And if I were having a little bit better success on my ground strokes with it, I would probably prefer the feel of it. But sometimes I just got to trust the results. And for me, the results were showing that I'm getting a little bit more confidence with the 24. And so I'm going to prefer the feel ever so slightly for the 24 edition. But that being said, I really like what high bore is doing for head rackets.
All right, now overall, you got a winner?
I think it's pretty obvious here for me. I'm going to go slightly in favor of the 24 edition. I think it's a great value, great racket, and yeah, you'd be hard pressed to go wrong with this one in stock form.
Yeah, and for me, I'm going to go with the 26 because of that feel. But like you mentioned, like we mentioned before, it's so similar that I really had to look at my Zenith data, and my Zenith data is telling me I'm just getting a little bit more of everything with the high board 2026 version. So that is my winner. All right, and those are our picks for this comparative review. For more information about these head speed rackets, make sure you go to Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, or Tennis Only.